Teamsters Day, February 11th. Taking the Hawk 250 out for a run. Let's jump right into it. Chinese dual sport. Bright green with pink trim. We call her Britney, as in Britney Spears, the pop singer from the 90s, 2000s? I don't know. Anyways, the pop singer. Yep, we're on a Hawk 250 Chinese dual sport motorcycle by Ricky Power Sports, but in truth it's made by a company called HOWARDIan, which is a Chinese motor company which makes all types of motors and all types of small equipment and stuff that, you know, competes with other motor manufacturers. And the truth is, it's with stolen intellectual property. So this is basically a clone of a Brazilian Honda bike. It's called a Bros, B-R-O-S. I don't know how they pronounce that in Portuguese, but the Bros or Bros Honda 250 is what the Hawk is a copy of, line for line. The neighbors cruising by. Look at that lake, beautiful view down here. Anyhow, this Chinese company found some people that could get it over the border past the emission standards in the United States, you know, the importers. They found some people crazy enough to buy whole crates of these things. And I guess that company's called Ricky Power Sports. And also like Texas Power Sports or something like that. I'm sure you guys have your experiences with them and could tell me more about it than I could. I did not buy my Hawk 250 new. I bought mine used, crazy enough. That pile of dirt, that foundation looks good, boys. I bought mine secondhand from a kid up in the Seattle area, South Seattle area. And he had dropped the bike. I might have talked about it before, but he dropped it. There's a school bus, make sure they're not flashing anything. And he broke the front fender, so I had an occasion to talk to Ricky Power Sports to purchase a new front fender. And they were pretty amiable, you know. They charge a lot for the shipping from China for a new part. And that might be a question that some of you have. You know, the goal of my vlog is to be simply a accountability journal for my motorcycling experience, but also if I can help inform another rider, shoot, that's awesome, because I certainly look to y'all's posts for information all the time. So downshift a little bit to grab this hill, but yeah, getting extra parts for these bikes from the quote-unquote manufacturer is achievable. And that was the question I had before purchasing it. Well, you know, well, can I get something that works on it, you know? And I was able to replace the speedometer cable and do some little tricks, you know, that, like, I think it's like Good Old Boy or something like that. Some guy who works on a Hawk 250 was talking about, so shout out to him wherever he's at. One more gear, huh? And got the Speedo cable resolved right away. Finally got the new fender ordered, got that, got my graphics kit together, got a cool new gearing put together for it, so it's still aggressive enough to get in the dirt, which I love doing back here, the trail riding. But still something you could take, you know, pinned in 5th gear on the highway. It's still too slow. And that's another question some of you might have. Like, is it fast enough to actually ride on the streets of my hometown? And a couple answers to that question. Do you have a highway in your hometown? Because if you do and you rely on the highway to leave your house like I do, it's a no-go. And plating the dirt bike might not be the best thing, you know, because I can ride around on these roads without a license plate with a relative amount of safety of not getting in trouble, you know. So if it's a play bike for you and you want to go around your yard, go tool around the curves near your house, something like that, I don't know if you need to plate it. And plating, it's a whole nother one that a lot of people might have that question. So comes with like a MSO or MCO or whatever their kind of like version of a title is, like a manufacturer's like stamp essentially. I know in my state, Washington State, you can take it to the DMV and that they'll charge you probably like 300 bucks to like register a brand new vehicle, and they'll ask you how much you paid for it, and you'll tell them I bought it on Amazon. But fellow neighbor just walking through. So that was what I heard from the kid that actually did plate this, you know. So I went and replated it, which is, you know, something that's fun to do. Plate dual sport dirt bikes and take them up in the woods, take them on the highway to the woods and not have any stress, you know. That's a cool thing. But other than that, I don't know why you would really plate a Hawk 250 unless, and it's the second answer to that question. I like those little cabins down there. Those are cool right by the lake. That's the second answer to that question, which is if you just live right in town, say you live in like a big city and you're like, highways, hell no. We get on trains and go to the airport. We don't ever go on highways. We just like tool around and go, like, you know, mostly on little roads where it's like 45, 50 is like fast because there's stoplights and stuff. The Hawk 250 is perfect. And for that reason, I would really just recommend plating it, getting it going as like a dual sport. They look really, really cool in my opinion. They look like a Honda Bros. You can slip the gears. Yeah, you shouldn't do that. The gearing is funny. Like, you gotta like get after like maintaining the the throttle cable and stuff. And like, I installed some like handguard situation, you know. Like, this to me is a learning bike. Like, new riders can learn on this bike and drop it, and you can say like, well, yeah, we paid, you know, X amount of dollars for it. Like, it wasn't so crazy expensive that you dropped my Honda or whatever. So we put some handguards on it, and that like affects the throttle tube a little bit. So I have to get like another one of those screws that like flowers out, which I have, but I've just haven't put on the new hand, like, because it works right now and it's tight. But the throttle cable, because I think that the original owner had like dropped it, done something, like he dropped it at speed and said he dropped it in his garage, which, that's cool. The stories you get when buying a used bike are awesome, because you never know where Brittany was before she met you. And you don't ask, you know, you don't ask who your girlfriend or boyfriend was with before they were with you, because that's their business. So Brittany, I don't ask you, girl. But the thing about that is that the cable, the throttle cable was a little screwed up, like the rough adjustment. So tighten that up and make sure you get after that, because I've noticed that the gears will slip a little bit if you're not after that, which is cool. It's just like a little thing to always be knowing about these like Chinese dual sports, is that you will have little nuances that you'll constantly be playing with. Like, you're gonna have to go around and play with it for a second, like shakedown ride after shakedown ride. And like, it's true that the tubes, the inner tubes, it's true that they come to you a little bit like, that's where the manufacturer saves money. There'll always be a place where the manufacturer tries to save money. And if you're buying a motorcycle that only costs you $1,500, guess what, dog? They're saving money. So it's cool that those tubes fail on you. It's cool that I had to walk 14 miles after the failing tube left me far from home. But yeah, that's another failure point. And then I think that like we all talk about that stuff on the forum to each other all the time. Like, there's an amazing user written manual for the Hawk 250, and like, that is incredible. That manual has answered all my questions before I really have to pipe up and ask too complicated of a question. I look through that forum and do a search on that, and man, it's usually there in that manual that got published on the first page by the guy who opened the forum, you know, the moderator or whatever. So the mod on that forum is like, c'est bien. Trapian, how you say it, however you say it, like, good moderator, good job. But that manual is awesome. If you don't have the text document, man, download it. The good stuff is in there. The stuff you need to know is in there. It's so awesome. So like that type of information just so valuable because there's no manufacturer's manual for this bike. So you could look at the Honda manual and guess and hope, but that forces you to be someone who's essentially taking their craft of wrenching a little bit further, because there's no map except for this text document which these people have found and written. And that was awesome. What a cool experience that probably was for those people to write. Like getting this new bike in the mail. How many times am I going to say like? Getting a new bike in the mail and having to write that manual and like finding a way to write that manual must have been a pretty interesting experience, like tearing down the bike and stuff. And there's people that you know, they bore out these 229s to be probably what, 250 cylinder, 250 cc, and re-sleeve it and hone it and put better pistons and this and that and the other, and they'll tell you, hey, this piston works on there, man, get it, grab that one, it works, that's the one that you want. And what valuable information that is, you know, like what incredibly valuable information that is. Was Floyd at home? Floyd is home. What incredibly valuable information that is, you know? So those people who have already bored out their Hawk 250, shout out to y'all for putting that information out there and like really putting so much good information into the universe. Let's see if Floyd is back here. No, but he's been making lumber. That is amazing. What a man, that guy. What a man, what a man, what a mighty good man. So those are some of my questions when I bought a Hawk 250. And I'll tell you now, this thing still has a limited amount of kilometers on it. It's not high kilometer because it's a play bike. It's the bike that we take around this gorgeous lake. And how lucky we are, and you know, aside from some of the failure points that I could have shored up before going because I knew about them, this bike has been incredibly reliable, which is cool, you know. It's fun. It's a fun play bike. 229 cc's. It's not going to take anybody down the road too quickly, but it's not going to let you down either, and that's fun. That's a good time. A nice little off-road machine. And then every mile and every hour I put on this, it has 11.6 hours on it. I put a little hour meter because these speedometers, it's another weak point that they'll tell you, like, that's cool, however long my triptych really is, but it's not true. And then my fuel sensor, and people talk about fuel floats and stuff like that, like, don't worry about the fuel sensor. Look in your gas tank. If you need gas, get some. If you're on reserve, go on reserve, or get a can of gas for your house. Those are my fixes for some of those problems. But so I put an hour meter on it. That's one thing I would suggest for people is, like, hey, get a cheap hour meter, throw it on there, attach it to the spark plug wire, and there you go. That's your deal. You got an RPM, like a successful RPM clock, and then you have an hour meter, so you can tell, like, hey, this motor's at 11.6 hours. I probably need to do an oil change, you know, in the next, you know, I don't need to do an oil change. I've done oil changes in that 11.6 hours, but you know, at least the hour meter gives you a sense of what's going on. So yeah, hill climbing on the Hawk 250. This thing goes off-road like a champ. So if that's your question, answer is hell yeah, it goes off-road. It has a great time off-road. I love putting it on my sand track. I love putting it all over the place. Oh yeah, down she almost goes. See that? She likes to dig in. She has a good time. That's something else I would talk about, is like the Hawk has adjustable rear suspension. It does not have adjustable front forks. I think that the Hawk DLX has better front forks or something, and that's a cool thing to pay for, but I'm a fan of the carburetor bikes. That's the good time for me. So I think this is the perfect bike. It's a 2020 Hawk 250. from, like we said, Highest Sun or RPS. That's the manufacturer. That's the Howardian Moto-Vlog. See what we can see. Dive right in. Thank you if you're a subscriber. If you're not, click that button. It's do motorcycle riding videos around Thurston County, and we post up videos all the time of us just narrated trail riding. Appreciate y'all. See you again soon. Howardian Moto-Vlog. And I'm out. GoPro, stop recording.